Hello, this is Professor Bustillo-Booth. This is a video tutorial of the upcoming Culminating project for Management 276 Employment Law. This project is multi-stage to give it a chance to develop over time and to benefit from peer reviews. There will be 3 deliverables. The first one will be called Stage 1, where you will work on the first set of 5 key questions that will be considered a draft. In Stage 2, you will work on the second set of 5 key questions, and that will also be a draft. And the third deliverable will have 4 key questions, and that will be considered a final, and you will work on all 14 questions to make sure it is at the final stage. Let me go over these stages. So the first one is Stage 1. Again, it's a draft. You will have your 5 questions, and it will be worth 25 points. It will be due around week 7. I'll go over modules here in a moment. Then Stage 2, you will work on the next set of 5 key questions, as well as correct errors in Stage 1. This deliverable is worth 35 points, and it is due week 9. Then there is Stage 3, which is the final deliverable, and you will work on 4 more key questions, as well as correct errors that are still present in Stage 1 and Stage 2. And this whole document is worth 50 points, and it is due week 11. Let me now go walk through modules for you so you get a sense of what this actually looks like. And so this is modules over here, and how you will find the document is to go to week 7. So I'm just going to scroll to week 7, and you will find it right here. Culminating Project Stage 1 Scenarios and Key Questions. You will click that, and then you will find the directions for this assignment, when it is due, how many points it is worth, and what kind of document you will upload, and I'll discuss that here in a moment. Okay? And so it'll talk about the purpose, the kinds of skills you will learn, basically the student learning outcomes as described in your syllabus. And then it will talk about the tasks, so make sure you read this entire thing. And in here, first one you'll need to be aware is that all 3 stages of this project will have its own due date. So for example, Stage 1 will be 25 points due on this date, and then so on Stage 2 and Stage 3. If this is in another quarter, this video was made in spring, but if you are in a different class, your due dates will also show up here. All right. And then you will then work on a particular form, which I'll launch here in a moment, to complete the stages. And that note that all stages are on the same form. All right. So the directions will look alike for each stage, but the difference will be, when it is due. And you'll complete the stage that it is due and submit the document by the deadline. In this case, for Stage 1, for this particular quarter, it is May 18th. And then after that, when you submit, the system will create anonymous users for you to peer review, because all of these stages are peer reviewed. So you will be given 3 anonymous users to peer review, and that you will use a rubric to review that, and you will have 3 days to complete the review of those 3 submissions. And in this case, it's 3 days after this date, which in this case is May 21st. Just make sure you read the directions very clearly. And that failure to review will result in the loss of at least 1 point for each non-review, and that will be taken off of your submission. So for example, the total, if you received 25 points for Stage 1 and you did not submit any peer reviews, you will lose 3 points, and then you will only earn 22 points. And there will be a link, a video here on how to peer review, so you want to take a look at that so you understand how that works. Now let's take a look at this document. Okay, so when we click this form, what you will get is this document right here. It is an Excel file, and it has many columns, so I'll just sort of scroll over so you can see here. Okay, and what you will find is that they're headers, and then there are directions, and then the questions themselves are in this column, right? And you'll see that there are 1 through 14 questions, and they are organized by color. So the first stage is green in this case, and if you tilt your head, you can look over here. It says stage 1, 25 points due May 18th in this case. Again, if you're in a different quarter, you'll have a different due date. Then here's the second stage, which is in this case purple, and your next 5 questions will be here. And then stage 3 are in blue, and itself has its own due date. And remember that these will all be peer reviewed, and that errors that are inside here in these columns, because these are the columns that you will enter, right? You will go and research and answer these questions over here. Those errors in stage 1, for example, any error in stage 1, when you submit in stage 2, right here, you will need to correct them up here as well. Okay, I'll show you in the rubric here in a moment how that happens. And so the idea is that as your stages develop and your peer reviews and my comments give you a sense of how far along you've come, you will go and correct this error. So by the time you have your document stage 3, you basically have a well-vetted document that answer these questions. So for example, in this question here, and I will zoom in so you can see, this question says, must an employer provide breaks for a nursing mother to express milk on a private place in which to do it? So you will then research this information and answer these headers. So for example, you will identify the legal employment concept, and some of them are listed here, not all of them, and you'll have to identify what legal concept is being addressed here. Okay, is it discrimination, retaliation, harassment, disparate treatment, accommodation, so on? And again, there are far more legal concepts than are listed here, so you'll have to do some research. That's just to get you started. And then you will identify the relevant law in question. So which law actually pertains to this question? Is it Title VII? Is it the Fair Labor Standards Act, and so on? And you will identify who the law covers, and then I mean all of them, not just, say, for example, mothers. You need to cover all of them here. The idea is that you get a sense of how the breadth of the law, right? And then you identify the enforcing agent. Is it the EEOC or someone else? Now, in terms of the court perspective here, affirmative, identify specific conditions that must be met for the court to have an affirmative yes decision, i.e. yes answer the key question. So you go back here and say, excuse me, a closed-ended question. Must an employer provide breaks for a nursing mother to express milk on a private place in which to do it? So if the answer is yes, you must identify the specific conditions that must be met for this to be a yes. If the court says no, then you must specify the conditions that must be met for the court to say no, right? Because these are not easy questions to answer, and there are actually gray areas. And then, having done that, you will then articulate key best managerial practices to keep employers out of court. Now, your book does a pretty good job of putting down or listing management tips. So consult the end of the chapters in that area, I think it's blue, where it has management tips to get a sense of what that is. Now, again, these are peer reviewed. You will get some time in class to discuss these, but you will not have enough time in class to do all of them, all right? And so you'll definitely want to use the time with your peers to kind of talk this out. Now, if you're wondering, can you work with another peer to develop this? Absolutely. You can work with 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, but you must produce your own work and submit that. And you cannot produce one document among 2 or 3 of you and then submit that one document, 4 times. So if there were 4 of you working the same document 4 times, that will be considered plagiarism and unacceptable. So you'll need to produce your own work. So I want to be clear. You can collaborate, you can deliberate, but you must produce your own work. Okay? That's very, very important. Okay. So I want to go back now to modules so that I can show you the rubric against which, the peers will be, your peer review and my own feedback will depend. So you can see here for stage 1 are the rubric elements you will be graded against. Okay, so there's the legal concept, relevant law, coverage, enforcing agent is seen as 1, court perspective, in the affirmative, course perspective, and the negative, and the manager of best practices. So you'll want to look at that and see, how am I going to be graded? How will my peers grade me, and how will my professor grade me? So you'll want to make sure that you understand that, so that when you're developing your document, you have a good sense of what to expect. Okay, so let me review. This has 3 stages. Stage 1 is a draft, which you will get 5 questions. That's 25 points due on week 7. And then their second deliverable is stage 2, itself a draft. You'll get the next set of 5 questions. You will correct errors in stage 1. That particular deliverable is worth 35 points due around week 9. And then your third deliverable is stage 3, where you will correct any remaining issues on stage 1 and stage 2, and that it is worth 50 points due week 11, and each of the stages is peer reviewed. So if you have any questions, please be sure to email me. I want to make sure things are clarified. And I will also remember to give you time during class, but to remind you that there will not be enough time during class to do it. That will just to help you get started, and you will have to plan and commit some time outside of class to make sure you have a high quality product. All right, so thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again soon.